The island does not beg for attention. It simply exists, a middle finger of concrete and stone thrust into the cold throat of San Francisco Bay. 42 feet above the waterline, the walls have witnessed every trick, every lie, every desperate reach toward freedom. Since 1934, not one soul has cracked this puzzle. Not one. It is June 1962. The statistics are not a warning. They are a dare, 5 feet by 9. That is the contract. A concrete coffin with a steel toilet and a mattress thin as regret. They call it home. You call it a design brief. Somewhere in the next cell, a man named Wolf is planning to stab you for looking at him wrong. But Wolf is not the enemy. Neither are the guards. The real adversary has no face, no pulse, no weakness. It is the architecture itself. And architecture can be solved. IQ 130. Not genius? Close enough. Close enough to know that muscle breaks against concrete, but patience wears it down. Close enough to understand that every system, every lock, every grate, every guard rotation is just a puzzle with moving parts. The federal penitentiary built this place to break men. They never considered that one of those men might treat it as an engineering problem. The question is not whether escape is possible. The question is, what is your move? Tonight, the bunk becomes a drafting table. The ceiling becomes a map, staring at cracked plaster. The mind begins its first simulation. What if 50 men dug together? What if the dirt disappeared into the walls? What if deception could be manufactured at scale? Across the bay, San Francisco twinkles with impossible freedom. But between here and there lies rock, steel, water, and time. 4 variables, 4 adversaries. And somewhere in the arithmetic of desperation, a solution waits to be born. A voice from the next cell breaks the trance. Morris, you ever think about it? The other side? The answer stays internal. Every waking hour feeds the simulation. Not fantasy, engineering. Cold, replicable stress, tested engineering. Somewhere in South America, prisoners have proven what collective desperation can achieve. A blueprint forms, not the blueprint of escape, the blueprint of a dream that almost worked. The grand illusion starts now. The simulation opens in Santiago, 1944. 50 men did what Alcatraz swore was impossible. They carved 90 meters through volcanic rock. 80 tons of dirt vanished into the ceiling, hidden above the guards' heads. Egg whites mixed with plaster created fake walls, so convincing that patrols walked past for months. Plastic ventilation pipes maintained the illusion of infrastructure. For 363 days, 50 men kept a secret that large. Hope, it turns out, scales beautifully. The mental overlay shifts. What if this same machinery could be built here? Under B, block, a tunnel network could spread like roots. Each man assigned a cubic foot of rock per week. Dirt smuggled into the yard in trouser cuffs. Fake walls built during lockdown, hidden by nothing more than bed placement. The mathematics are elegant, the coordination divine. In this simulation, escape is not an individual act. It is a conspiracy of geometry and silence. Then the simulation hits the wall. Solid rock that does not match Chilean volcanic soil. Alcatraz sits on bedrock, harder than despair, older than the prison system. No ceiling cavities, nowhere to hide dirt. Armed guards patrol on catwalks with no blind spots. Informants like bigot trade secrets for cigarettes. 50 men cannot keep a secret here. 5 cannot. Collective escapes. Mathematics collapse under one truth. This island was built to ensure mass coordination. Dies in planet. The mind does something extraordinary now. It does not grieve the dead simulation.
It autopsies it. Trust, space, noise, dirt disposal, guard patterns.
Every failure gets cataloged. From that inventory, a principle crystallizes. Collective escape equals death. The opposite must be built. Micro, not macro. Individual deception replacing mass coordination. The question inverts. Not how many can dig, but how few can disappear unnoticed. Above your head, painted the same green as everything else, a 6-inch ventilation duct. Rust, eating its base. The first crack in the fortress. In this frozen moment, the entire strategy reorganizes. The tunnel becomes a vertical climb. The 50 men become 3. The industrial deception becomes surgical precision. Chilean mass psychology dissolves into something more dangerous, intimate engineering. 3 men who trust each other with their lives, 3 men willing to trade months of labor for 30 minutes of freedom. The grand illusion is dead. Long live the micro illusion. And somewhere in the machinery of this crumbling island, the tools for escape are already waiting. The question is no longer whether the system can be beaten. The question is whether you can become invisible enough to slip through. Doc paints seascapes. That is what keeps him human, putting ocean on canvas instead of staring at concrete. But one September morning, the warden revokes painting privileges. Just like that. No explanation, no appeal. Doc walks to the workshop. Nobody sees what follows, but everyone hears. When guards find him, 3 fingers lie on the concrete floor. He cut them off himself. Not in rage, in calculation. The prison cannot take what he has already destroyed. A declaration in flesh that this place does not just break men. It teaches them to break themselves. 3 nights after Doc's blood dried on the workshop floor, a cockroach does something interesting. It scurries along the base of the ventilation duct in cell B-114, reaches the corroded seam, and vanishes. The gap should not exist. Steel should not surrender to oxidation this fast. But salt air is a slow assassin, and Alcatraz sits in its crosshairs. Watching that insect disappear into the wall, an engineering truth presents itself. The building is dying from the inside out. Its ventilation system, installed decades ago, never replaced,
has become a network of hollow veins waiting to be climbed.
2 brothers from Alabama changed the math. John and Clarence Anglin, bank robbers, strong swimmers, loyal with a ferocity that prison sharpens. Conversations happen in fragments, yard time, whispers over poker. The plan needs 3 who will not flinch. John has muscle for climbing. Clarence has patience for detail. You have the mind that sees how pieces fit. Trust is not declared. It is demonstrated, 1 stolen spoon at a time. A nail clipper passes palm to palm in the breakfast line. A surgical instrument acquired without a witness. The work begins in darkness. By flashlight narrowed to a pencil of light, concrete surrenders 1 spoon, scrape at a time. A 6x9-inch rectangle takes shape above the ventilation duct. Concrete dust collects in a suitcase under the bunk. Evidence smuggled out during yard time, released into the wind like gray snow. At the current rate, the hole will be large enough in 3 months. 3 months of pretending to sleep while grinding through a wall. Discovery means D. Block isolation. Or worse, the clock is set. Every evening from 5:30 to 7 o'clock, music hour transforms the cell block into an acoustic fortress. An accordion wheezes through the corridors. And something miraculous happens. The guards stop listening. Beneath that musical umbrella, a vacuum cleaner motor, stolen, rewired, mounted on a spoon handle, becomes a drill. Polkas mask the rhythm of concrete destruction. Meanwhile, on the workshop table, 3 heads are born, soap base, cement powder for texture, real hair from the barbershop floor, embedded with care that borders on artistry. Under flashlight inspection, they look like sleeping men. Under moonlight, they will look like the dead. Then comes the night that separates engineers from prisoners. Heavy boots in the corridor. The warden makes rounds unannounced, something he has not done in 17 days. Each footfall is a countdown. He stops at B-114 through the bars. The dummy head faces the wall, painted in shadow. The suitcase sits where it should be. Barely any concrete remains above the vent. If he enters, if he touches the suitcase, if he shines his light upward, the game ends tonight. Muscles coil. Breath stops. Every second stretches into a lifetime. Do you prepare to fight or trust your disguise? The 11th of June, 1962. The fog rolls in like a collaborator. At 10:30 p.m., 3 ventilation grates slide open without sound. Months of oiling the tracks have paid off. The climb up the utility corridor is a 3-story puzzle solved in darkness. Then, the roof. Rain falls. Enough to mask movement. Below, 40 men sleep behind concrete and steel. Above, San Francisco's lights twinkle with indifference. The edge of the roof approaches. From here forward, engineering is about water, wind, and time. Over 50 military raincoats, stolen one at a time, over 6 months, lie on wet tar, each seam hand, sealed using heat from the prison laundry pipes. The result? A 14-footable raft. 14-feetable raft. 14 feet of pressurized hope. An accordion serves as air pump, modified with a custom valve. Tests in the flooded shower block proved 37. Pumps achieve full inflation. 37 etched into muscle memory. In darkness, with hands that cannot stop shaking, the count begins.
1, 2, 3.
Here is what modern engineering simulations revealed. 60 years later, the tidal currents are not just dangerous. They are binary. Most of the night, water pulls south toward the Pacific and certain death. But for a precise 30-minute window, 11:30 p.m. to midnight, the tidal shift creates a northerly push toward land, toward survival. Launch too early, the current drags you to open ocean. Launch too late, the window closes. Half an hour. That is what the mathematics of the moon and spinning planet granted. Half an hour to cross 1.25 miles of black water. The raft touches water at 11:37 p.m. It holds 3 bodies climb aboard, weight distributed by unspoken agreement. Paddles, scrap plywood, and wire bite into the bay. Each stroke negotiates with the current fog swallows Alcatraz behind you. In this moment, every spoon, scrape, every stolen raincoat converges on a single point in space and time. The launch at 11:40 p.m. is the only survival blind spot in the entire tidal cycle. Frank Morris did not guess. He computed. He found the one moment when moon, earth, and current aligned to offer a door open just long enough for one chance. That door is open now. Behind them, the searchlight sweeps its arc across empty water. Nothing. No raft, no men, no evidence that 3 hours ago, America's most secure prison held 3 inmates, now replaced by dummy heads and a very large hole. Ahead, only fog. Paddles continue their rhythm. Cold seeps through rubberized fabric, finding flesh, finding bone, finding the limits of endurance. The current was calculated. The raft was engineered. But nature signed no contracts. Water temp is 54 degrees Fahrenheit. In conditions like these, the body has 1 hour before the hands stop paddling and the mind stops deciding. Dawn breaks on disaster. The morning count reveals 3 empty beds, 3 realistic dummy heads, and a ventilation system that now functions as a ladder. The warden follows the route to its end, the roof, the puddles where the raft was inflated, the trampled flowers at the island's edge, Doc's flowers. The old painter, the man who cut off his own fingers to keep his soul, had planted them as his last act of beauty. Now they lie crushed underfoot. A signature in petals and mud. The escape happened here, but did it succeed? For 60 years, the story refused to die because the ending was never written. 1975, a photograph from a Brazil farm, allegedly showing the Anglin brothers alive. The FBI examined it, declared it inconclusive.
2013, a letter to a San Francisco television show.
Purportedly from Frank Morris, offering his location for cancer treatment. Handwriting analysis went nowhere. Every few years, another clue, another whisper that 3 men outsmarted America's most secure prison and walked into new lives. The public wanted to believe, mathematics wanted closure, neither got what they wanted. Then came March 2025. U.S. Marshals disclosed what forensic science confirmed. Skeletal remains from Angel Island mudflats matched DNA of Frank Morris and both Anglin brothers. The location made brutal sense. Angel Island sits in the escape route's path, close enough for hope, far enough to explain failure. The raft did not survive the crossing. It leaked. It deflated. The Brazil photo was phantom. The 2013 letter was fiction. Only the 6-foot waves, the leaking rubber, and hypothermia that claims life when core temperature drops below 95 degrees Fahrenheit. No guard fired a shot. No blood marked the walls. The prison itself, those concrete walls, those steel bars, did not deliver the final sentence. Nature did. The same cold water surrounding Alcatraz every moment simply extended its jurisdiction by a few miles. The same fog that masked the escape masked the drowning. The same tides that offered a 30-minute window closed it with indifferent precision. Frank Morris computed the architecture. He computed the currents. What he could not compute was the moment when a leaking seam, a fatigued, weakened body, and freezing water would override every equation. Nature executed the final sentence, not with malice. With mathematics of its own, the dummy heads stayed on the pillows for 8 hours before morning count found them. 8 hours of manufactured sleep, purchased with months of stolen time. Doc's flowers grew back. The prison closed 3 years later, too late for everyone involved. Now, knowing what DNA reveals, knowing the Brazil photo was phantom and the 2013 letter was fiction, the story lands somewhere new. Not in triumph, not in failure, in the space between decision and consequence. If time rewound, and you stood on that roof at 11:37 p.m., looking at trampled flowers, feeling the raft in your hands, the fog erasing the world behind you, knowing nature's mathematics, wait ahead. What do you do?